Hey, it's Joseph here. I've got a few boxes here today. I would like to go through them, and you might have noticed that they're all from Rode. And Rode, thank you for sending me these boxes for me to test out, as well as showcasing to these people here. Sorry for this interjection. I wanted to unbox and test out all three products here, but I could not get Streamer X to work that day. So after careful consideration, I wanted to dedicate this video to just PodMic USB and PSA 1 Plus. Please leave comments below if you would like me to produce a separate video on Streamer X, and enjoy the rest of the video. Yeah, I'm quite excited to get through this one, especially because I've been wanting to try the PodMic USB. And before we jump into all of that, I do want to tell a bit story about my current microphone setup. So if you feel that this is not necessary for you, then you can skip ahead to the next section. As you might have noticed that it says Rode, and this specific microphone that I'm using is called Rode VideoMic Go 2. And this one is versatile in a way that it can mount on top of your camera as like a vlog setup and connect via 3.5mm jack, or connect to your phones or your computers or even laptops via USB Type-C port that it has. And the 3.5mm jack turns into a monitoring jack for this microphone so that you can do real-time monitoring. And that basically means that it can go on anywhere. And I have reviewed this microphone in the past and compared it before, so do check that video out if you haven't already. I'll leave the link in the description. And currently I'm using it just like this, and you're hearing my voice through this microphone currently, and it is being boomed like this, and I use it for presentation, webinar, podcast type of thing, because it can be close to your mouth and have a bit warm tone like what you're hearing right now. And because I am using a DSLR that's mounted on my desk, Canon M50, however, I'm currently connecting this microphone into my computer instead. The reason for that is because Canon M50's pickup is a bit noisy, so if there's a dead silence or if I don't speak, there's a bit of a hiss going on. And more noise will be introduced if I were to run a microphone line from here all the way to the camera. I would say about 3.5 feet away. So it is definitely not really a far distance, but I've experienced a lot of radio frequency noises whenever it is traveling from right here to there. I've got a lot of devices here, my phone, my computer. There's a lot of wireless signal that is going on here, so cutting out that radio frequency noise was just not really possible in my trial and error. And some other cameras like Canon M6 Mark II inherently takes more noise than Canon M50. I guess it is some sort of design flaw that it has. In general, I always found that USB Type-C into my computer is a lot cleaner than the sound directly going into the camera. And currently I am using a lav, and this one is going to Rode's VideoMic Go that I have showcased in another video as well into my Canon M50, just to kind of rule out the connection issues or the wire that is introducing a lot of radio frequency into the sound. However, it is impossible to get a clean sound off of that camera just because how noisy the pickup is. And because of that, I often played a lot of background music in my videos, but a lot of you have complained about that, so I stopped doing that ever since I introduced this microphone into the whole equation. So hopefully you're getting a good sound, otherwise I'm gonna have a bit of editing headache later on. So since I have gone through my current setup of microphone, let's go ahead and look at what's on the box and unbox it. So there is a picture of the microphone, and it says PodMic USB, Versatile Dynamic Broadcast Microphone. And I also know the fact that the original version of this microphone without the USB was quite well received by the XLR crowd who's looking for a simple microphone solution. However, since I didn't want to invest in the whole XLR setup, I haven't really gone down that route yet. That's why seeing a USB function added to it and wanted to investigate further, therefore how this video all kind of came about. Going through this side, there's a picture of what the microphone and the boom arm may be, and that will be the arm that I will be showing you later. And also it states that it's got the broadcast quality, XLR and USB connectivity, the dual connectivity function there, and then studio grade processing. I assume there's going to be some app involved to control different things of the microphone. And going further around, there is iPhone and iPad and iPod compatibility and USB Type-C devices. It's a bit strange that normally iPhone would have been lightning cable. Now that it is USB-C, I guess it just kind of makes all sense. However, I'm mostly interested in the USB-C functionality anyways. And on this side, it states a couple more redundant information, but broadcast quality sound, pop filter, and internal shock mount are included. And the box contains PodMic USB and SC29 USB-C to USB-C cable, along with a pop filter. And the sides are basically redundant information. So let's go ahead and cut this sleeve so that we can open it. Inside the sleeve is basically, again, redundant information. So opening this up. And by the way, this is not the very first time me opening this, because I just opened it a moment ago and turns out that I forgot to press the record button. I try to carefully box it back in as much as I could, but please do understand the contents may not be exactly the same. However, here is the pop filter. It does have the foam, but it is sort of a plastic construction. It's light. And it does have the Rode logo on it. And then here is the paper, Love Your PodMic USB, Regulatory and Safety Guide. And here's the actual bit of microphone. Some silica gel. And it definitely has some weight to it, so I do want to be careful lowering it onto my desk. I don't want to dent it. And here is the accessory box. And in here is the cable nicely wrapped around. And this cable is quite long, and you can see that it is USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable, and it's got the Rode logo on it. And the sleeving feels quite nice. I would assume that this is about 12 feet because I could fold it in half, and basically it's my entire arm's length there. It's nice to have lengthy cables because you never know how far you'll have to reach. After you factor in the boom arm and everything, it may be quite long from wherever you're coming from. As far as the microphone goes, you can see it says PodMic USB, made in Australia. And here are two knobs that you can kind of unscrew and then let it just kind of rotate however you'd like it to be, and just kind of lock it in position. And I believe the original PodMic also had very similar design. I think it might have changed in color into sort of black, but it is pretty much the same from what I know. And on the back here, it's got the two female thread that is available here. I believe one is 3/8 and the other one is 5/8. So both types can be adopted to here, whichever setup you have. But I believe it is going to be compatible with the boom arm that I have here, PSA 1 Plus. So we'll test that out in a moment. On the back, I wanted to show you this side where it's got the USB Type-C port. And I don't know if this is an LED indicator or a reset button of some sort. And the monitoring headphone jack with a volume dial, which feels quite nice. And one thing is I can kind of press on it too. I don't know if that is meant to be like that, but maybe it works as a button as well. And here is the XLR port, which has a rubber cap on it, and then you can just open it like that. I don't know if one side is meant to be much longer than the other. I am not as familiar with XLR setup, you can kind of tell. But yeah, I just wanted to note that. And I may have to use this port for Streamer X, but for now, we can cover that up. And as far as the pop filter goes, it kind of mounts like this. So the overall design is the same, but it's now got plastic over it and pop filter, but it does seem a bit bigger than the original size, I guess. And in terms of booming this, it's going to mount something like this. So you can already tell that it is considerably thicker than this microphone. So it's gonna take up some space in your view. Supposedly superior sound quality too. So we'll compare that in a moment. But because this is heavier, I don't think these cheap boom arms available from Amazon, I think it was like $15 or something, will be able to support this in a more meaningful way. So let's have this one open and then mount this properly to my desk. It says PSA 1 Plus Professional Studio Arm, and it has been criticized in the past, and I believe it's the same, that it's got quite a loud logo, meaning the Rode logo is a bit too prominent on these arms. So people have gone into just kind of covering that. I think I'm gonna probably do a bit of that as well. I don't mind small logos here and there, but if it's something that is very prominent, then yeah, it just becomes a little bit distracting in my opinion. So I may go around doing that later on. But for now, here is what it is. Going around the side, easy positioning, parallel movement, low noise operation, clamp or desk insert. Okay. The other side has the redundant information, and on the back it shows that the PSA 1 Plus is a professional studio arm, professional studio boom arm, horizontal reach is those things, and weight range is 94 grams to 1.2 kilogram, and desk thickness is allowed for 18 to 55, and the surface mount is 10 mil to 70 mil. The thread side is 3/8, so definitely is going to fit the microphone, and it includes the arm itself, desk clamp, desk insert, and the thread adapter. So that will allow you to adapt going from 3/8 to 5/8. Therefore, I won't be using desk insert because I don't have a grommet, but I will definitely use the desk clamp and the arm itself. So inside the sleeve, redundant information along with this sort of diagrammatic type of the arm. But as I open the box, you can see that the arm is included here and a couple of accessories as it was mentioned. So this is the clamp that I'll be using to mount onto my desk. It does allow this much of clamping. And then here's some rubber grommet cover. It might have fallen up from somewhere. And here is the metal grommet connection. I guess this kind of came from here. That is to route the cables through if you want to do that. And it fits into a grommet size of, I would say if you're about 3 inches, you're safe. So a 3-inch hole, it'll be perfect to use this desk grommet clamp. And there is the paper, quick start guide, how to set it up and such, but I don't think it's all that complicated, so I'll just disregard and get this arm out. Okay, so you're supposed to hold here, tear it open, but I think it might be easier for me to just do that. Okay, it's telling me to basically open it up like this, but it might be easier to just tear this out this way. And because this does have a spring, it just tends to open on its own, so you gotta be careful not to knock things out. So I'm gonna hold it in my hand so I don't do that. And I'm also going to mount this on my desk, so I actually have a place to mount this arm somewhere. My desk is about 1.5 inches, so I'm going to open it up like so. In reality, I'll probably end up mounting it outside of the frame, but for the demonstration purposes, I just mount it on here. And in terms of construction, like I said, this is all sort of spring loaded, so it has tendency to just kind of open up on me. So I'm just trying to keep it clamped, and you can just undo this knob here to just kind of open this up and get this foam out, this sort of packaging. And you can see that there are a couple of threads included up here to connect your microphone, which you can mount onto the microphone itself, or you can just directly attach to this 3/8 thread versus the 5/8. So that just depends on what you like to do. And then you can just unscrew this to get it to the exact location you want it to be and tighten it. So I'll attempt that later on. But you got the soft fabric material here, which is basically hiding all of these railing that happens. If you happen to just put your finger in there and lift it, you can actually at least hurt your fingers that way. So it is good that they got this cover to kind of prevent you from doing this. But the Rode logo is a little bit loud for my taste. I guess it's the same on the other side. So you're gonna have to, I don't know, Sharpie it if you want. You got this cable routing clips so that you can route your microphone cable. And also you've got this over here, which will be just inserted into the clamp itself. And it's got the plastic ring around it so that it doesn't make such a weird contact. It just kind of spins around somewhat smoothly. Okay, so it is definitely not just opening up on its own. Good. So you can just kind of keep it this way. I like how resistive this is and how smooth it feels like, yet it is just kind of keeping its position without weight to it. I'm just gonna keep it like this so that you guys could see, and then mount this microphone. I could just rotate it easily. So the dumb way would be to spin the microphone like what I'm doing now, which I have done just now, but figured out that you can just spin this thread that is up on top to tighten your screw so that you don't end up spinning your microphone. This one, I'm just gonna spin it all the way, tighten it, and then also use this bigger knob that is underneath it to tighten that microphone so that it's not moving. So it's securely mounted on there, just pointing down. You do want to speak to the tip of it. So I'm going to spin that around and it's just going to keep on its position. I don't have to tighten this knob all the way to just kind of let it keep position. I like the fact that I can just kind of move it and keep it. However, you can kind of raise this and it's just going to come down because the knob is really loose right now. So I can just kind of lock it in position if I would like. And it just moves around smoothly. I like that. So let me kind of get this into position so that I can set it up correctly. So for obvious reasons, this doesn't work. I want to do it the other way maybe. So apparently there's no way to lock this around, so it is sort of freely spinning, but I guess I can just kind of park it like that. And I can just speak to both of the microphone about at the same distance. All right. Gotta put the pop filter on and I'm gonna connect the cable. So on the back where the USB Type-C port is, I think that's the right one. All right, that's in and it's kind of moving the microphone around, but I'm gonna clip it onto this clip, have it get routed properly. And around the back, go around nicely like this, and then basically onto my machine. And unfortunately, the PodMic USB does not include USB Type A adapter, so you're gonna have to get one of yours. I do have one, but my desktop also has USB-C port on the front I/O, so I'm just gonna connect this to my computer. And as soon as it connected, it just rang and let me know something's connected. And as I have said, that is an LED indicator. I can see the red dot showing up, letting me know that it's powering on. And as soon as I have connected, I can see that on Rode Central, the PodMic USB has shown up. VideoMic Go 2 is currently being used, so it is there. And if I click on this, I can go ahead and update the firmware. Let's go ahead and do that. And that quickly updated on its own. Close, and I can perhaps connect to this. And you can see that audio setup can be done on here, so I'm just gonna keep things as it is. So there are a couple of things that you can tweak with. So you can certainly click on that to adjust the gain. I'm gonna have to get used to this sort of interface, but I'm gonna take things as it is. Let's go ahead and test things out. So I'm gonna back out, and this headphone is allowing me to monitor the sound that is coming from Rode VideoMic Go 2. So currently you are hearing a sound from VideoMic Go 2, and I am able to monitor my sound, and it sounds always good. I've been using this microphone and I know what it sounds like, and it is very comfortable because there's no delays to it. I can monitor my sound and I can also hear my computer sound through it, so it just makes this whole setup a lot easier. Now, is this bulkier setup going to replace just because the sound is superior? Well, we're about to find out. You've been hearing the sound from Rode VideoMic Go 2, and we're gonna flip it over to PodMic USB. Actually, before I go over to this microphone, whilst I was setting it up, I just realized one thing. So the back dial over here, if you just press it, it goes from green to red, meaning green is actually recording or actually getting the signal through versus red is muted. So you can just press that to mute and unmute, which is convenient, and it lets you know through the camera. I can't really see it, so it doesn't really let me know. So I guess that's a bit of a bummer. It doesn't have indicator on the front where I can actually see, but oh well. But another aspect is that this dial is actually not the gain control, but rather the monitoring control. So if I listen to myself, I'm gonna have to get this to all the way to this side to be able to hear my sound through this microphone. And this headset is currently connected to this microphone, the new PodMic USB. So I can now monitor my sound and I'm hearing myself really good. There's no noise whatsoever and sound is crisp and warm. So that's just my first impression, but now I'm going to switch over so you can actually hear the sound through this microphone. All right, now you should be hearing the sound from Rode PodMic USB, and the sound is very warm, and I like the proximity effect. I can go close to it to make it really boomy and warm sound, just like podcast, and hence the name PodMic. And I really like this sound in general. So for something that is a bit more intimate, like let's say presentation or podcast, a webinar, I feel that those type of setup will benefit with a warm tone like this. However, you can still walk away and you can just kind of up the gain a little bit so that even if it's a little bit of a distance, I'm about 2 feet away from the microphone, and you can still expect a clean sound and get a bit more distant and normal sound rather than the boomy radio podcast like sound. So that is definitely controllable. You can just kind of control it depending on how you want to sound, and I'm able to monitor that on my headset and I know what I sound like. And this setup is definitely bigger than this setup, I would say, but again, the sound, no noise whatsoever. One of the problem that I did not mention whilst I was talking about my current setup is, I don't know if you can see, but I actually electrical taped behind this VideoMic Go 2. One of the problem that I have faced, like I said, because I've got a lot of wireless frequency or wireless devices that are going around here, somehow those wavelength is hitting behind this microphone, and I don't get that sound in actual recording. But whenever I'm connecting a monitoring headset, there's a huge amount of hissing sound, and if I can put an aluminum foil to the back of it and then electrical tape around it, that just kind of, I guess, covers or prevents those wavelength hitting or radio frequency hitting back of this capsule of the microphone, which is made out of plastic. Long story short, I did that to reduce the amount of noise that is being introduced into the monitoring. Not the actual recording, you don't actually hear those, but just the monitoring part. But right now, because of this change from this microphone into here, in the headset is just dead silence. There's no noise whatsoever and all the sound is crisp. So a couple of tests that I want to do is me talking and just snapping my finger from back of the microphone to see how much of a rejection it has towards other sound that is not directly going into the microphone. And another aspect that I want to try out also is the pop filter, because it has some foam on it, and if I speak very close to it, it doesn't matter as much if the microphone is coming from the side and you're just speaking directly into the front, then you don't really have a lot of pops into your microphone. However, if you're speaking directly into it, in front of it like this, then you may see a lot of pops, pop, pop, pop. If you don't have a pop filter, then you're going to experience a lot more pops. But because this has a foam, it's inherently going to be rejecting the pops in the sound, and it is doing pretty good job based on what I can tell in the sound monitoring. However, in my setup, I probably will have it a little bit to the side so that I don't really speak directly into it. I won't really speak directly into it like this, because then it just covers my face too much. And I'm often doing these product showcases, and this arm and this microphone may be covering just way too much of the camera. So I'm gonna try to do it in a way that it just doesn't cover it as much if I were to actually set it up. But so far, I really like it. Sound monitoring is really good, and there's a dial to control the amount of monitoring, whereas on the Rode VideoMic Go 2 did not have any of those controls, except you have to control all of that in the Rode Central app. So there is a direct monitor level which you can adjust, but until you do that, you just could not adjust it dynamically. I like the fact that there's a physical dial to it, and you can just press that to mute it. I could be speaking and yet not hear at all. So there is that button conveniently available for you. But one other aspect is how much of a bump it can actually reject. Supposedly it has an internal shock mount. However, often I hear this pings and dings whenever you just kind of accidentally bump into the microphone arms. And sorry, I've been bothering you, but so this whole thing becomes like a drum once you have everything connected, and I'll be clicking and clanking and doing some keyboards, and that is going to definitely impact the overall sound. So let me just do a keyboard test just to kind of give you a preview of what mechanical keyboards sound like. In my short experience, this is not that great because I do hear a little bit of bumps. Not the clackety sound, is just the outside noise not being rejected, but there's a bit of a bum 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 sound. And that is all inherently because the sound is traveling through the arm and then not being rejected with a shock mount. If I were to switch over to VideoMic Go 2, although I have a bit of hissing sound, I don't have that banging noise because of this shock mount that is normally built onto the cold shoe is just rejecting it so well. There's no banging noise that gets transferred over. Maybe it is just a bit further away, therefore it's not traveling as far, but you can hear the difference. So this is just tapping on the arm, and I'm hitting near the base. So there's not much of a banging that is traveling through the arm going over the shock mount that it has. So the shock mount is a lot more robust, yet I guess this metallic shock mount, or this is just a mount, not a shock mount, and it is just not rejecting as well on the Rode PodMic USB. There's no banging. It's just clackety clack of the mechanical keyboard. But yet I hear that hissing noise on the headset because this one is not rejecting all the radio frequency. And it's not going to be a fair comparison if I had the boom arm in different distance, right? So yeah, let me go ahead and do that. There's not as much banging noise, I have to give that. But there are still banging noises that are coming from just banging on my desk that are around here. If I do it from the base, I can hear a lot more. So the noise isolation or the shock isolation that is built into the PodMic is not as great as this external shock mount that is on the Rode VideoMic Go. This microphone has a lot more weight because of the metal construction, therefore rejects a lot more radio frequency around, but it's got more weight to it, therefore the shock absorbing is not as easy as this one, which is plastic and really easy to just mount on this flimsy little shock mount, right? I guess you just have to pick your poison there. So I just wanted to kind of show you this, but I've got this PodMic USB and Rode VideoMic Go 2. You can see how small that is in comparison. And also I've got it mounted on a very similar level there. So that's how much of a distance you're seeing. So yeah, the sound comparison is there. Again, let me switch over to the VideoMic Go 2. Now you're hearing the sound from Rode VideoMic Go 2, and this is what it sounds like. No banging sound. Even tapping on the arm is not as loud. I guess it may slightly sound different on the actual recording, but I'm not hearing as much banging noise just because of this better shock mount. So hopefully you found this video somewhat useful. If you did, please like this video, and thank you so much for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time.